LSU Odyssey is live. Friday night live. How's everybody doing? How is the sound? Can you guys hear me perfectly? Doing it out of our phone tonight. I thought the iPad that was left here would be perfect, right? Well, it turns out the iPad is completely like child locked and all this stuff. So Sage can't go on the internet or touch anything when he uses his the iPad that he claims is his, but is actually Chelsea's. The rare times he uses it, he will try and go surfing through the internet and stuff like that. So we have to put all those locks on it. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out these damn locks and how to undo them. Maybe Chelsea set a different password up or something. Um, but we'll see. She'll be back here any minute now. But I am here with two children, 3 and under. We got this little newborn. Sitting in this pack and play that was sent by a dude named Fred. Fred from Plano, my man. My little girl is laying in this thing, having the time of her life and laughing at all these little things that we have hooked up and stuff, all these little shaky things and stuff, because of you, man. I really appreciate your friendship, Fred from Plano, my man. He is a huge Paul Feinbaum fan. He's always been supportive of us since the dawn of our beginning of that whole thing, and this was just a crazy, um, really unexpected gift here. Just incredible from him, and I really appreciate everything he's done for us and everything he's done for my daughter because she's laying in a pack and play that he provided. We were actually like, yes, that's something we got to get. We we didn't get one of those yet, so let's go get one for Ari. And then Fred literally sent this, and it was like, holy crap, Fred, we love you, man. Just wanted to give you a shout out there, my brother. Um, and Fred would want us to get down to the brass tacks as well, and so I think everybody in LSU land who saw the 2025 offense witnessed what that 2025 offense was, as sickening as it was, from the complete lack of an offensive line that could run the football or even pass block, or they're tripping over each other's feet. Some of this, the absolute slapstick circus antics. I mean, just unbelievable, unrepentant, horrifying offensive line play. And then you had no running game whatsoever. And so you're okay. Well, we got Garrett Nussmeier, we got the arm, all this stuff. He has 2 injuries through fall camp. The team denies that. Everyone around Nussmeier denies that to us on the record. No, that's not happening. We had the right sources say, no, man, this is not good. Something is very bad here, and it's going to affect our season. And I was reporting it like crazy. No one believed our reporting at the time. We were widely trashed, widely mocked as, hey, the official big heads in the media haven't said this is true, so it's not true. The gatekeepers of the media who tell you what is real and what isn't have not affirmed this. So therefore it is not reality. So just change businesses, Lon. The amount of crap I took at that time was unreal. And the amount of bragging I could have done and promotion I should have done about how we were right on the biggest story of LSU season, and everyone else was completely woefully wrong. Not to trash on people, but to state a fact. We were right on that. We were shit on by some of the biggest media members on their shows. Whether they said our name or not, everyone knows who they're talking about. And we reported that Nuss had that knee problem. And no, it wasn't the ACL that like some dumb account was flying off the handle saying Nuss had torn his ACL. That was not true. But the patellar tendon stuff was a lot more extreme than LSU was making out to be. It was a lot more painful for Nuss to deal with. You saw that in his footwork. He has confirmed that and affirmed that this during this whole post season pre-draft process that he's undergoing, which we'll get into in a second. But Nuss was obviously hurting in one place. All right. And then he gets another injury, a second injury in the torso abdomen. It was an injury we were always told was an abdominal injury. That was how it was described to us. That was how we reported it. And many people were saying it's a torso injury. Torso. That's what you heard from Brian Kelly when they finally, after weeks of denial, where no, actually, sorry, take that back. A month and a half of denial, where you go through fall camp, because this happened like I think right at the end of like kind of the beginning part of fall camp, probably like practice 6 or 7. But Nuss is looking on fire, and the whole team is looking really good on offense. Like maybe not offensive line so much, but whole team's looking pretty sharp offensively, especially throwing the football. And then everything changes. Secrecy, silence around Nussmeier, hush hush, around Nuss, and denials by everyone in media, everyone around the team. And when someone around the team told them, hey, no, Nuss is completely fine, they believed it. They didn't question it. They didn't go, I need to check that with another source. But they needed to ask themselves, is this the most important player on our team? Yes. Is this a player that like everyone, even like the most like Christian person will like lie about to protect their injury? Yes. I mean, you even had Nussmeier saying like, I can't lie because of my religion. So instead of lying, I'm just not going to answer the question, which obviously meant I'm seriously hurt. And Nussmeier was. And he's confirmed that. And we knew he was. It was obvious. We saw what happened and how this offense degenerated before our eyes. You thought maybe it was a triumph of the wills in a slugfest against Clemson, right? On the road. You didn't really think too much of it. Okay, well, you thought it could be a bloodbath. You thought it could be, Clemson's a good team, all this stuff, right? And then it turned out Clemson wasn't a good team at all, like at all. And you marginally beat them. Of course, we take off the Berrien Brown touchdown, but remember that's basically a play that should have counted. So you can basically add 7 points to LSU's score there. But the point is LSU continued to play like that, just rugged shit where, hey, guys, we're playing against, Louisiana Tech. We're not playing against that Clemson defensive line anymore. What's going on? Like as shitty as Clemson is, like that defensive line is still formidable. Defense is still pretty good. Like, well, this is Louisiana Tech. What are we doing here? And then you just kind of saw it before your eyes that this team could not run the football. So they could not support Garrett Nussmeier. It had to all be on Garrett Nussmeier. The injuries occurred. It got worse because he kept having to go out there, kept having to throw the football. Wasted drive after wasted drive. Joe Sloan, horrible play calling. And then when he would call the right play, horrible execution by the offense. Probably the worst offensive line we've ever seen in LSU history. Probably, I think probably the nadir. Yeah, I think it's absolutely the lowest point of LSU running the football and like not being able to run the football over the last since 2019. You had that season in 2021 where Ty Davis-Price had a 1,000-yard season in basically like 6.5 games, the final 6.5 games, because the first like 5-6 games of the season he was either hurt or barely playing, and then Coach O finally starts playing Ty Davis-Price rattles off a 1,000-yard season. Outside of that 1,000-yard season, You haven't seen shit for bricks from this LSU running game. And it's been a long time since we rock and rolled. Been a long time since, you know, you been a long time since you hit the hole. But down, but down, but down. Give me a running back, give me a running back, give me a running back. Baby, where I come from. That is what LSU is about. Running backs hitting the hole and taking over games and really being big parts of an offense, key elements to the offense. Usually the key element in offense. You can talk Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson all you want till the cows come home. You can talk Terrace Marshall even, 13 touchdowns, just under 1,000 yards. Had he not been injured for, I think, 4 games in that season, he would have easily had over 1,000 yards. But what a freakish aerial game, right? But without Clyde Edwards-Helaire in that backfield, what are they? What are the 2019 Tigers? They're not what they could have been, even if they win a title. Clyde Edwards-Helaire takes them to that, 99 Rams, territory, and then they surpass it and become the greatest offense football has ever seen. And it's thanks to that balance because of that running back brutalizing, making guys miss, tearing it up, in the front, working, gashing, destroying the lungs of that front seven. Then your passing game can open wide open because those guys aren't going to have enough push on the pressure. They're not going to be able to pass rush as well. These things affect one another. And LSU could not run the football. This was the lowest point in 2025 where you just could not run the football to save your life. The closer it seemed, an inch, we just need an inch. We just need a centimeter. The farther away it appeared. The closer it seemed to scoring, you're on the inch line. You just need a centimeter. It just seemed like so far away from me. That Dire Straits song, so far away. Even though it's right there, it's so far away. It just was crazy. It was nuts. And it hadn't just been under Joe Sloan. It had been like that at LSU for a few years. Shocking stuff. Shocking. Not just under Brian Kelly either. The last 2 years of the Coach O era. So LSU could not run the football, could not do any of this. No, Garrett Nussmeier's exposed, gets injured. Now Garrett Nussmeier sat out the last bit of the season. Brian Kelly would have played this kid until he literally could not move. It was literally had broken ribs and injuries all over his body. Brian Kelly was going to rather die than sub Nussmeier out of any game. It was crazy, man. And luckily, Frank Wilson came in, changed all that. Nussmeier was benched for Michael Van Buren because I think that not only helped LSU as a team, actually gave us a competitive chance in a season where we were not competitive whatsoever. I think it actually gave us a chance while also saving Nussmeier from himself. Endlessly wanting to play. This is the season where my dad's here. My dad can see me finally playing these games. He barely was able to see me play in high school. Now he's there to see me in college. National championship, Heisman, all this stuff, right there for the taking. And it was. Indiana won the national championship this year, guys. Mendoza won the Heisman this year. I'm not taking away anything from that team. Curt Cignetti is the Jerry Sloan of college football. But this was a wide open year. And Garrett Nussmeier, these guys, you gotta feel like this season will haunt them for the rest of their lives. You really dropped the ball here this season. And I don't think it was Garrett Nussmeier, failing LSU. I don't think it was ever Garrett Nussmeier letting LSU down. I don't believe this was ever a situation of Garrett Nussmeier not giving enough, not working hard enough, which you heard Mike Scarborough actually publicly say, Garrett's not even hurt. He just doesn't work hard enough. He's just lazy. Like, just said it like it was a fact. It was crazy. Just like, he doesn't work. He doesn't do it. Like, just spouting it out. Just saying it like it was a fact when the dude had no proof. His inside source was obviously completely wrong. I remember my guy Holden texting me saying, "Dude, Mike Scarborough is saying your report's a lie and that Nussmeier's not hurt. He just is lazy and just sucks." And it was like, dude threw for more yards in his first season than any other starting quarterback in LSU history. And just on that season alone, he was in the top 10 LSU all-time passing yards. Like, the dude showed what he could do in an offense that was working against him with no offensive line, no running game, same situation. But he had an offensive line that could pass block in 2024. And so it seemed like Nussmeier was only going to go up from there. You add so many weapons in the receiving game, everything devolves, and everyone says Nuss sucks. Doesn't matter if he's hurt, he sucks. Barry and Brown, well, dude, he sucks. Even though he led the team in receiving, it was only over 500, just barely over 500 yards. He's garbage, right? He's garbage, hot garbage. Aaron Anderson, garbage. Chris Hilton Jr., he wasn't even there. He didn't even exist. Of course, Chris Hilton Jr. is garbage, right? And these things become narratives. These narratives become themes that are pounded into the mind of this player sucks. This player was injured and couldn't play. That means he sucks. This player was held down by a coach who didn't want to play him. That means he sucks. This quarterback had 2, even 3 injuries at one point in this last season. 0 offensive line, 0 running game. Injured in the worst places a quarterback could be injured in, shoulder, abdominal, chest area, knee, even your hand. Like, he was injured in all these places. It's just the worst place to be hurt. You had all these situations, and it just looked like these guys sucked, right? It just looked like, but you didn't understand. You take a step back and say, yeah, but have we ever seen Aaron Anderson really utilized the way he should be by Joe Sloan outside of a few plays? And we highlighted it the entire offseason leading into 2025. We were pointing out how, look at this against A&M 2024. You have Aaron Anderson, a couple, quick release, couple steps, looks like he's going vertical, feints to his left really quickly, and then jaggedly cuts in on a super slant right across the middle. And someone that fast, you give him just that little bit of daylight, Nussmeier's going to hit that throw. He's going to at least get 10 yards. Even if the guy's right on him, he's at least going to get 10 yards. But you weren't using Aaron Anderson in plays over the middle. And so he wasn't shining as well as he could. And you come to this season, every play that was over the middle went for about 2-3 yards at most, the depth on the play. It was diabolical play design and play calling. Like, the plays were ridiculous. They only meant to get 4 or 5 yards of offense even anyway. So I was like, what the hell is this? Like, it was so schematically screwed up. And you are starting to really see, with the way these guys are showing out in this Senior Bowl, in this Shrine game, these kind of pre-draft process games, that, man, the 2025 LSU Tigers may be the worst coached, or one of the worst coached LSU teams of all time. Because, holy shit, Barry and Brown, Aaron Anderson, Chris Hilton Jr., Garrett Nussmeier, all, and I mean all, look like drastically different players. Why is that? How is that? Because the environment is different. Obviously, the play calling is different, but you don't expect the play calling of a Shrine Game, of a Senior Bowl, to accentuate what these guys can do better than what a guy who was coaching with them for 2, 3 years could get out of them. But that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing here. It's incredible. You guys see this. Barry and Brown gets so much shit, and he's only a returner. He can't be a receiver. Well, look at this. Absolutely leaving his man for dead. And that's just one of a few clips I've seen where Barry and Brown is just cooking. Where he is just roasting guys out there. And then Hilton. Ooh. He was always nasty with the shake and bake, Chris Hilton. Watch this right here. Oh, man. Like, that was almost just like rubbing it in there, man. Like, and then Chris Hilton again here. Ooh. Some red zone art history there by Chris Hilton Jr. And then Nussmeier. His vibe, man, look at this right here. He's already feeling so much better about things. Just being healthy, being able to touch a football and go out there and actually feel like himself again. I mean, this play right here just showcases what Nuss. Oh, that throw. What Nuss can do off platform, what Nuss can do improvising can be so good. And that's what really, I think we're going to look back at this 2025 season and really feel sorry for guys like Nussmeier. Feel sorry for guys like Barryon Brown, for Chris Hilton Jr. And who knows why the hell Chris Hilton Jr. wasn't playing this last season. We needed a downfield threat. Obviously, Nussmeier couldn't throw the football that far with the injuries. And that proves it, that you didn't even use Hilton because the downfield threat, you couldn't even take advantage of it because Nuss could barely throw the football, but because of his injury. But you could still use Hilton's devastating pace in the red zone, over the middle. You did not maximize any of your players to the utmost of their abilities. Any of them. It is shocking how much this exposes just how bad the offensive coaching was last season. It is shocking. And there's Nuss getting out of pocket, using his legs, looking downfield, finding the guy. I mean, for anyone who said he was a statue, it's like, yes, he's not a typical dual threat or something like that. This is a guy who's really good moving against pressures and then looking downfield, making a quick throw, getting 10 or 15 yards, using these option routes, these, secondary route plays to great effect, where guys can break back to the ball, and then there's that second plan. He's utilized kind of this vision that he's had to anticipate a breaking down pocket and kind of move through it and then make a throw down the field and make a good play. We saw him turning into that type of quarterback at the end of the last season. He had that really bad skid. Once again, another 3-game losing streak, just like this year. But in 2024, you remember that as well as I do. That horrible 3-game losing streak cost you the season. A&M, Alabama, Florida, and Nuss had really some shocking moments and really was folding. And then you expected it to continue, right? To continue going downhill. And instead, Nuss really got his bearings together, finished that season strong, and was doing a lot of mobile downfield passing where he's getting away from pressure. He's moving around out of the pocket, and then he's making a big downfield play and just rip-roaring teams apart. And Chris Hilton Jr., Trades Green, they were becoming more part of it. And it was like, why has LSU not run this type of offense all season? A fearless type of offense. Because it appeared that only when you're down by 20, 30 points did Joe Sloan run an offense that had any urgency, any control of like proceedings whatsoever. And it was like, oh, great drive. You're down 37-7, like it's insanity. And so I can see where Nussmeier, Barryon Brown, Chris Hilton Jr., Aaron Anderson, all these guys completely screwed over by this last year's offense. Here's 3 just sick plays by Nuss. Look at that throw. Oh, that's beautiful. I believe that was Barryon Brown as well making that catch. Maybe I'm seeing that wrong, but that looked like it was Brown as well. Just nasty right there. Paul Tarver says, Nuss told Hester and Flynn Monday he could not use his torso in 2025. BK ruined his and Tiger season by not letting him completely heal. I know, man. I mean, this is something that we were reporting as it happened, and people did not believe us. If you watch our everyday shows, if you read our articles, if you are even half plugged into what we do, you saw our reporting about Nussmeier being hurt, not just in one spot, but in multiple places, and it was halfway into fall camp. And people thought I was shouting calamity and like, oh no, run for the hills, like, and people were kind of like bullish on, oh, hey, we're fine, Nuss is fine, shut up, like it was very weird. Like, yeah, how dare you say that things are going to be terrible? How dare you say that our quarterback is hurt in multiple places before the season? You're killing my vibe. You're killing my buzz for the season. You're not telling me what I want to hear. But we were reporting it. And I was very tickled to when we were on the Tiger Rag radio show, because we haven't gotten very much credit or love for our reporting being completely months ahead of most of the game. Everyone just finally figured out that, yeah, Nuss is hurt after the Florida game. All these freaking narratives. We just said Scarborough had a narrative that he wasn't hurt. He was actually just lazy, which he said verbatim on his show. He just doesn't work hard. He just sucks and all this stuff. You had all these different narratives clear into the Florida game. After the Florida game, after the Cobble question, you're spoiled by Brian Kelly, questions weren't being asked. And even after that, it was still like, well, who cares? Shut up. And then it was only after Lane Kiffin, LSU's new coach, kicked our ass in Oxford that people really started to kind of go, oh my God, Nussmeier isn't just like hurt, he's really hurt. And then we started getting a lot of mentions by fans who were saying, Lon Phillips called this, Lon Phillips called this, Lon Phillips Sullivan called this, Lon Phillips Sullivan. and giving us a lot of cool credit. It felt good because when you're reporting something like that and you stick your neck out, and everyone, including people you look up to in the media business, people who you thought were your friends or who liked you, are like professionally shitting on you, basically saying that you suck and you shouldn't even be in this business because you're so ahead of a story that they can't even fucking comprehend how on the ball you are and how off the ball and spoon fed and just completely like bought and sold and never questioning anything they are. It's just incredible. And we were shit on by so many people. I can picture it now. People like Preston Guy or Matt Moscona saying like, "This is why you only listen to real media, you know, accredited media, all this stuff." And it was like, we actually are. That's the thing is you can't get those type of things unless you actually are legitimate, and we have proven that with our work. That that's why we have credentials. That's why we're one of the few independent outlets to have gotten credentials before independent media really took over, and a lot of outlets are now, that's kind of the way of media is now. A lot of independent guys are able to put their hat in the ring and get that type of stuff, but it was not handed out at all when I was trying to get that, and finally got it back in 2022, early 2022. But we got so much shit for that nuts stuff, and then a lot of fans, a lot of people who knew, we'll just say the streets absolutely knew that we broke that stuff about Nuss, and we tried to remind people. We tried to do that, but what was cool was when I went on Tiger Rag Radio, and those guys were like, you were completely vindicated. You were destroyed. You were browbeat. I can't remember the words they used, but everyone went at us. Everyone said we were a liar and all this stuff, clickbait, all this stuff, and then we turned out to be not only right, but like ahead of everyone on one of the biggest stories in college football, and surely the biggest story of LSU's season. Because from there, everything unraveled. Nussmeier's healthy. Brian Kelly might still be there at LSU. Isn't that a scary thought? So I guess my answer to that question, Paul, is that's old news to me. I knew this since August. I don't need a confirmation from Nussmeier. Here's the truth. We're going to give you guys some inside baseball here. Um, I was actually told by Garrett Nussmeier's mother that he was fine and that there was no injury and that there's no problems, and I needed to not worry about it and to kind of stop looking, stop asking type of thing. And usually Nussmeier's mom is really, really cool to me, but this time she was like really kind of like cold, kind of like there's just something different that made me kind of feel like, wow, like I touched a nerve there, I guess. And then I'm just like, well, you can say that he's okay, but I've been watching your son play for like almost 7 years now, high school. Like I've he does not look like he's okay. I've been watching football since I was the age of like 3, 4. I've seen how a quarterback throws a football. He does not look like he can actually throw a ball without like wincing in agony. And everything I said was always met with basically like stop, just shut up, type of replies. And I'm sure that she doesn't quite like me because at the time I still said, like even though LSU also, we asked an LSU official who would know, whether the reports about Nussmeier's injuries were accurate or not. And he said, no, they were not, completely, categorically false, all that stuff. I'm not exactly sure what the quote was, but it was basically saying they were not true. And when we put out the quote from the LSU official, and that's all we did, we didn't say that this guy's wrong, this official's wrong, look at this quote he said, and we know he's wrong, we caught him. We didn't say anything like that. We were just doing the journalistic process of like, well, here's what LSU had to say, here's what they had to say. And it exposed LSU. I think right at that moment, the entire fan base knew Nussmeier was hurt because of our reporting. Everyone started freaking out, like, "Oh my God, LSU are just giving you these stupid denials." And then Brian Kelly would say that Nussmeier was completely healthy. He actually had the gall to say that Nussmeier was completely healthy when Nuss looked like he could barely move, barely throw a football, hobbling after every play. You had fans of ours laughing about how, oh, he's limping after every play. Oh, what a joke, what a baby. He's an actress, all this stuff. And I get it. When you're losing games, you just want to like shit on everything that moves. And I get it. When you're losing games, nothing looks good. Everyone looks like a fraud, whatever. I don't even think you can quantify like how seriously fucked up Nussmeier's body was. Like, and that he was out there playing for LSU, giving it his all because he was our best chance to win, pretty much our only chance to win. And if he didn't go out there and perform, we weren't going to win the game, right? Well, you had Michael Van Buren, who could really kind of be conservative, get you through a game or two, and a great defense. It is such insanity that BK did not. I mean, it's a big call, but maybe you rest Nuss in that week 2 game against Louisiana Tech, I think it was, and then week 3 against Florida. Maybe you have Nuss in better condition, and then week 4 against another gimme team. I think New Mexico State, something like that. You rest him again. And then when you play Ole Miss, maybe he's in, the shape he's in, like the shape he would have been like in like a month ago. So horrible mismanagement of the injury, horrible mismanagement by Brian Kelly right there. But like, it's not just Nussmeier either. All of these guys were horribly screwed over by this coaching staff. Not just by the coaching staff's complete and utter ineptitude, but their complete failure to identify their best players, get them on the field, and just get them the ball. Very simple. Just feed your guys and get them the ball. Aaron Anderson didn't score a touchdown. Aaron Anderson didn't score a touchdown this season, guys. No 100-yard games. Nussmeier doesn't throw for 300 in any game. Like there's all these horrible stat lines. I think we had like what, 100-yard rushing game all season, 100-yard receiving game all season, or 2. Just embarrassing. Just embarrassing. And it wasn't just on these kids at all. Our coaching staff has so much of the blame to take, it's not even funny. So much of the blame to take, it's not even funny. I mean, there is talk that I've been told this, and I've been trying to get an answer out of some people who would know for a fact, but I've been told that Chris Hilton Jr. Basically fell out of favor with Cortez Hankton, and so Cortez Hankton just politically was like, "Screw you, Chris! I'm not going to use you." So that's another angle here, and then because you see him going out there and just dominating Chris Hilton Jr., so it's like, what the hell is up with that as well? But I think you're seeing some redemption for these 2025 LSU Tigers on offense, where they're going to the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, or sorry, the Shrine Game, all these events, and they're showing out. They're showing what they can do individually that offense was never going to allow them to do. I mean, that offense was never going to make anyone look good. That offense was only going to get people hurt. The offense was only going to cause, casualties, if you will. Uh, it, it was a disaster. I mean, that dumpster fire you saw where it was like an actual dumpster that was on fire in Minneapolis this last weekend, that is the epicenter of what the 2025 LSU offense was. It was like Tim Waltz. It was like freaking Tim Waltz was calling the 2025 LSU defense. It was like uh, Mayor Ed Koch from New York in the 70s and 80s was calling the 2025 LSU offense. It was a disgrace, a disgusting disgrace. Ugh. And I think it's just really cool to see these guys who a lot of these guys I know and talk to, and so I felt really bad for them the way the season turned out. But to see guys like Nussmeyer, like Chris Hilton Jr., Aaron Anderson, to see these guys get a second chance and absolutely nail it, um, it's just more of an indictment on how bad LSU's 2025 offense was from a coaching, schematic, design, play calling, personnel selection standpoint, all of the above. And I don't think there's any worse indictment of a coaching staff than you have these guys for 3, 4 years. There's true continuity there. Cortez Hankton's in place there. Joe Sloan's in place there. With Mike Denbrock, of course, for a few years, but still in quarterbacks coach in place. Brad Davis is in place there for 4 years. You have all these guys in place there, and you still, year after year after year, could not get the best out of these guys to the point that when they leave LSU, they go on to do bigger and better things elsewhere. Kayshon Boutte, outside of his freshman year, the Patriots are using him like LSU should have, right? Kayshon Boutte could have been LSU's all-time leading receiver had he been used correctly. Dude was unfreaking real. I get he was injured too, but seriously, like, not even close. Will Campbell gets off of that horrific Brad Davis offensive line train. And what does he do? First season, he's going to Super Bowl as a rookie, starting at left tackle. Didn't allow a single sack against the Broncos' unbelievable sack-leading defensive line. Doesn't allow a single sack. Had a few whiffs, but no sacks allowed. Incredible. And you've seen now Chris Hilton Jr., Barryon Brown, Aaron Anderson, Garrett Nussmeyer, all away from the Joe Sloan, you know, diet diarrhea offense. And they're absolutely on fire. They're Nuss is attracting first round talk again. People were talking about Nuss not even being drafted. People were talking about Nuss going to work at freaking McDonald's. People were truly shitting on these guys. And yet, in the end, it just goes to show true ability and all these things will win out with extra chances, other opportunities, different environments, away from the ones that did not work. You can hear the sounds of a Ari. He's being held by Chelsea and just fussing and fussing. Well, everybody, I don't know if this exonerates the 2025 LSU offense. Obviously, it doesn't. but I think it exonerates some of the key pillar members of that 2025 LSU offense. We were talking about it, starting quarterback and Garrett Nussmeier, and how shit on he was for this entire season, and how it really the defeats. Yes, he had some big mistakes in some big games. Yes, he was not playing anywhere near his best. Yada yada yada, etc., etc., etc. What's also true, he had zero offensive line, zero running game, and he was already hurt, and he had a coach who was committed to playing him as he continued his injuries continued to degenerate, and just had no problem with him being out there. And it's absolutely shocking. It's absolutely irresponsible. And I'm glad that Garrett Nussmeier was shut down by Frank Wilson to kind of preserve Garrett Nussmeier's health, his reputation. Because, like, here's the thing: Nussmeier's reputation in the draft was falling and falling and falling by the play. Frank saved his ass, gave him a moment to breathe, and now look what he's doing, turning heads, showing what he can do with the football, with the play sheets, with his mind, with his vision, with how he dissects a defense. And he's still not anywhere perfect. Nussmeier's still going to make a ton of errors. He's going to throw a lot of interceptions as he figures out the NFL. But Garrett Nussmeier is going to be a quarterback in the NFL for a long time. A long time. And I'm just very happy for, just like Paul Tarver, our guy is, that, you know, all these guys can really get this second opportunity, this second bite at the apple, because they deserve it. They played for LSU in an era, in a time where the happiness was rare, the sustained success was extremely rare. The moments of grandeur, of triumph were rare and scant, and you really had to dig deep. And there was a lot of big games where LSU fell short on the big stage, and a lot of people talking. They had to deal with a lot of criticism. And so for these guys to deal with all that criticism, all that doubt against them, even being, I mean, people said Barian Brown's not even a receiver, he's just a returner. Dude set the SEC's all-time kickoff return touchdown record, actually. But he went a long way to show this last weekend that I'm a damn receiver, bro. So that's our show for tonight. Redemption for the 2025 LSU Tigers. Maybe not for their offensive staff, but for these guys specifically, I think so. Go Tigers, baby.